Hey, what's up, and welcome to this episode of the Between Sermons podcast, where we are continuing the conversation from Sunday. It doesn't mean you have to have heard our sermon from Sunday, but if you would like to, it is in the show notes down below. It'll be linked. But today what we're going to do is we're going to continue this conversation from Sunday about being stuck. And a lot of times, we always say in the show that when a preacher is up on a stage, it's a monologue, and we want to turn that monologue into a dialogue. And so I don't want to just talk to you. I want to have a conversation with my friend Joni. And so Joni is our executive producer. She's our digital director of ministries here at CLC. And so usually she's on the other side of the camera, but today, hate it for you. You have to talk to me.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Awesome. So I don't even know where I want to jump in, because this is a big conversation, right? I mean, I think that a lot of people out there experience frustration. They feel like they're stuck in a place in life, and it seems like no matter what they do, no matter what we do, it's just spinning your wheels, not really making any traction, not getting anywhere. And eventually you get to the point where you look around and you're like, man, I'm still in the same place. And I think for some people that can happen in a matter of months or years. For some people it's like, man, I'm in the same place I was yesterday. This sucks. Like I want to see progress.
Yes.
And sometimes we can kind of beat ourselves up over getting stuck. So kind of starting off, what's kind of your take on this whole subject matter of being stuck in life?
I guess my take is I think it's something that we all experience. It's something that everybody can relate to. So no matter where you're at in life, what stage, if you're single, if you're married, if you're a parent, if you have no kids, if you're a grandparent, no matter where you are, friendships, relationships, work, exercising, anything, literally anything. I think this topic can relate to anybody wherever they are in life. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the funny thing to me is, like, sometimes we think that if we would just get this thing in our lives, then we wouldn't be stuck anymore.
Yep.
But like then all of a sudden that just gives you a new area in life to be stuck in. Like I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that are single and they're like, I'm tired of the relationship status that I'm in. I'm tired of just being stuck, as a single person. They're like, if I could just marry somebody, I'd be unstuck. Yeah. And then I'll walk away from that conversation to a husband and wife that are like, we're just stuck in our marriage and it's not working. It's like, getting unstuck in one area. A lot of times you're just walking into another area of stuckness.
Right.
And so I think the real solution isn't just to, never be stuck. I think the real goal in life is to know what to do and how to handle it when you're in that situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of it, honestly, can come back to redefining joy and fulfillment. I think a lot of times we decide, hey, I feel stuck in this place because I don't feel fulfillment where I'm at. I don't feel joy where I'm at. I feel frustrated with where I'm at. And I think sometimes it's a perspective shift that we need. Like, I don't know about you, but have you ever been in that place where it's like, I'm focused on this new car. I want this new car. Once I get this new car, I'm going to be so happy. And you think that one singular thing, like you're mentioning, like this one area, but that one singular thing is going to make me be happy and fulfilled, and it's going to be everything I ever wanted. And you get that car and you realize, like, hey, life is still there, and like those issues that I had before still exist. So I think sometimes we have to look at it with what's our perspective on it.
Yeah. What is that? Is that like what's the phrase for that? That's not projecting. It's not really compensating, but it's this idea of like being able to identify what the real problem is. Yeah. Because sometimes we look at something and we're like, hey, this is the problem. If I can solve this, then I'll be all right. And the real problem is like been hiding in some like childhood trauma or something. Right. And it's like, man, I could fix this issue, but it's not really fixing the problem. It's like taking some cold medicine that's going to make your nose stop running, but you still have the cold.
Right. Exactly. So treating the symptom, not the cause.
Yeah.
So I think we actually talked about that in a couple of things in the sermon of what to do when we're feeling stuck. And I think one of the things that we talked about is praying about it. I think it's the simplest solution, but it's the one that especially, I know for me personally, especially if I'm going through a rough time, if I'm feeling stuck in a place, like my first response should be prayer.
Yeah.
It's not always prayer. So it kind of reminds me of a conversation that I had with my oldest daughter a couple weeks back. So she's a junior in college, has some big decisions to make for when she graduates. And she's like, she has a couple options ahead of her. And she's like, I don't know what to choose. I don't know where to go. I don't feel like there is a right answer. They all look good. And so I was like, well, how about you pray about it? Like, I will pray with you. I will pray for you. But you need to pray about this, because there is somebody who does know the right answer. There is somebody who knows how to steer you through this decision-making process and to steer you through the situation. And so I think we skip that sometimes, but B, we need to not skip that. And that needs to be
absolutely
our first response, not our last resort.
Love it. We steal that line from Chris Hodges all the time. Prayer should be your first response, not your last resort. What I love about this is that as Christians, like, we have hope. Like, we have someone that we can go to. We have the Holy Spirit that's going to guide us and mentor us and coach us. And yet I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a Christian that in the same place your daughter was, like, hey, have you prayed about that? Have you asked God about that situation? It's like, well, kind of, maybe, well, he hasn't really said anything. It's like, okay, well, when you're praying, what are you doing? They're like, oh, well, I was just, kind of listing out all the grievances I have and all the problems that are going on. And then I went, I was doing that while I was driving to work, and then I went to work, and then I was distracted and busy. And it's like, it's not really a conversation with God at that point.
Right.
When are you going to actually listen to what he has to say, and really kind of process through that? And the biggest thing that I always tell people, if you want to hear God's voice, open your Bible, right? That's where he speaks. That's where we can be most assured. How do I know it's God's voice in my life and not just my voice? Or, how do we say around here, how do you know it's not just bad pizza?
Right.
Like the way if it's in the Bible or not.
Right.
Like that's our go-to. And so run into a lot of Christians that are stuck in a place, but they haven't talked to God. They haven't read their Bible. They haven't seen, what does God have to say about this situation? And so they're stuck, but they're stuck because they've left God out of the equation.
Yeah. I definitely relate with that. I see that in my own life. I see that in the lives of people around me. That's true.
Yeah. I think sometimes, though, it doesn't end up being very encouraging.
Right. It feels like a bunch of spiritual concepts, and it seems high and lofty. And
you're
that's
stuck.
a great
Just
goal.
Pray about it.
It's a great goal. Exactly. And then you get the Christianese, and then you get the, super spiritual advice from people. And it's like, okay, I'm really hurting right now. I'm in a really tough spot right now. Like, yes, I need to pray and I need to read my word, but like also sometimes we need practical earthly methods as well. So after we pray and after we read our scripture, God gives us wisdom. He gives us people around us. He gives us doctors and counselors and friends and people who can help speak into the situations that we're in. So yes, prayer and Bible reading, first and foremost. Yeah. Also, God gave us wisdom, and he gave wisdom to people around us as well. He gave us brains. We should use them sometimes. Yeah.
It's like, asking God to heal your body, but not going to talk to your doctor.
Right.
Like, I think there is definitely a balance that has to be struck. We just want to address the idea of leaving God completely out of the equation is not a healthy way to go about things. But it does bring up another problem that some people, the area of life that they're stuck in is the relationship with God. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I try and read my Bible, but it's boring. Or, hey, I try and pray, but I get 30 seconds in and, I know I got a million things I got to do. The dog's barking, the kids are crying, like I'm distracted. I'm not praying as much as I want. Or somebody's like, look, I prayed for 30 minutes and it was just me talking to the wall. And I felt I didn't feel God's presence. He didn't speak to me. I didn't get any clarity on the situation. Didn't find any freedom. It was a waste of my time. Like, so what do you do for people that are in a place where the stuck area is their relationship with God?
It reminds me of a quote from a mentor I had a long time ago, and she said, right actions eventually bring about right emotions. And so for that, it's like, I think it's doing what you know is right, even if you don't feel it in the moment, even if you don't feel like praying in the moment, even if you don't feel like reading your scripture in the moment, if it does feel like you're just talking to a blank wall. Keep doing the right things. Keep doing the right things, and eventually you'll catch up. You'll get there. You'll get around to it, because prayer and reading scripture is never going to steer you wrong. Like, it's never going to steer you wrong. Ignoring those things, like, that can put you in a bad place. But I think first, if you're feeling stuck in your relationship with the Lord, do the right things. Do the things that you know you need to be doing, and work towards getting your emotions where they need to be. I know for me personally, recently I've been experiencing some stuckness myself. But one of the things that I've been experiencing some stuckness is I've noticed, like, we just did, we had a staff meeting this morning, right? And so in our staff meeting, we talked about some different areas that we were stuck in. And so one of those areas was with God. Where do you feel stuck with God? And for me, I realized a certain area that I felt stuck with God in. So I went and I picked up a book on that resource. I was like, okay, I need to know God in this aspect. I'm not currently seeing him operate in my life in this aspect. I don't know him deeply in this area. So picked up a book on how to see God as Father, because for me personally, history, didn't have a father growing up, so I don't really know what that relationship looks like here on earth, but God is mentioned as Father so many times in Scripture, but I realize I don't have a super great understanding of what that actually looks like in practice in my life.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way, yes. So my experience is jacked up. It's dysfunctional, but I know that God is a loving, perfect Father. So what does that look like? So picked up this book on seeing God as Abba, and so going through it, still working through it, and I've learned so much. So I think you have to identify those areas that you are stuck. Like, are you stuck with prayer? Pick up a book on how to pray. Like, there are great resources out there. One of my favorite books on prayer is called Handbook to Prayer by Kenneth Boa. And it gives you like a daily template to like do prayer and thanksgiving and supplication and praying for other people. And so it kind of walks you through this template of how and what to pray about. So not specific entire prayers, but it gives you a direction. So I would say identify those areas that you're feeling stuck in and learn how to grow in those areas.
No, I love, so you start off by talking what's the quote from your mentor, the right actions eventually
bring about right emotions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. And it reminded me of something that we tell people is, I don't even remember who gets credit for this one, but it's, there's only 2 times that you should pray. When you feel like it and when you don't.
Yeah.
I love that. It's the brilliance of sometimes you just got to do the right things. And a lot of times we end up getting stuck in life, but there are some clear things that we can be doing to get unstuck, but it's going to take work.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have to get to work, and it means you got to buy the book and you got to actually read it.
Right.
So
yes. Having it in your Amazon cart is okay,
guilty.
but
man, I am so guilty of buying books and never even opening them up.
Yeah.
And so like I've got a library that's filled with books and people are like, wow, you read so much. I'm like, no, I just buy a lot of books. Like I need to do better in this area. But the reality is it's not enough just to, we talked about on Sunday, not enough just to identify a plan.
Yeah.
But you got to put it to work.
Right.
There's action steps that have to be followed.
Right.
And like you said, you do the right thing. You do the things that you know you're supposed to do. And eventually that's going to lead you. Now, it may take some time.
Right.
Like it may not be overnight.
Right. And spoiler, it's probably not going to be your time frame.
Right. Like I want to be unstuck today.
Yes.
It's like, okay, sure. Well, hey, how do you define stuck?
Right.
Like, so if you're saying, hey, I'm stuck here and I want to be here. So when you make it here, is that unstuck enough? Like when you make it, you want to go a mile and you've made it 10 feet. Are you still technically stuck at that point? I don't think you are. I would argue, you're not where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either.
Yeah.
And you're making progress.
Right.
And so there's a quote that says, a lot of people will overestimate what they can do in a few minutes and underestimate what they can do in a few years. And so it's just this idea of, look, just plod, put one foot in front of the other, do what you're supposed to do, walk it out. And over time, you're going to see, look, you made a tiny step of progress. Let's celebrate that.
Right.
Like, let's fix our focus so that you're not so discouraged in, man, I didn't make it a mile today. Yeah, but you made it 100 feet.
Yeah. And I think, especially here in our Western American culture, we are so impatient. Like we have a microwave, we have an Instant Pot, we have an air fryer. Like literally, how can I do everything
Don't knock my
quickly?
Air fryer, girl. Don't knock my air fryer.
I love it. So I think it's that impatience of, okay, I'm just ready to move on. Like I'm ready to, you can do everything from your phone. You can order a car, you can order food, you can order groceries. Like everything is instant. And so I think sometimes we have processes that the Lord wants us to walk through, whether it's to teach us something, whether it's to show us something, whether it's to help our testimony grow so that we can speak into other people's lives. Whatever that reason is that we may not know the answer to, things take time. Things take time. And I think we can just get so impatient. We just want to rush past the lessons and the blessings that the Lord might have waiting for us right there in the valley and miss what he has for us by just trying to get past it.
Nice. I love it. So I think we're identifying some stuff that's simple things, but I think it's effective. Start with God. That really should be the answer to every problem, every question. You probably just learn that and you'll be all right in life. Like start with God and see where that takes you. Because usually he'll take you pretty far. Yeah. So we start with God, but then you've got to have a plan. You got to have a process of getting unstuck. Okay, what are the things that I haven't been doing that I need to start doing? What are the things that I can learn about this? Buy the book, but then read it, and then take it the next step and actually put it into practice. Like there's action steps to all of this. It's getting around the right people. It's getting the right voices into your life that are going to be an encouragement to you and not a discouragement. We talked about on Sunday that not everybody wants to see you succeed, and I think that there's a lot of people that have friends that. Man, you're friends because you went through the same situation together, but now you're ready to move beyond it, and they're not.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the people in our lives are actually the ones that can kind of keep us stuck.
Right.
And I hate to say it so bluntly because we love people, and you don't want to just abandon people. You want to help bring them along.
Right.
But the reality is, and there's been some relationships in my own life that I've cut off because it was just like I'm looking around and it's like, you're not making progress the way I want to make progress, and you're okay with it, and I'm not. And so, like, hey, I'm fine being stuck with somebody else that's like, I feel stuck in this area, and I want to get unstuck.
Yep, let's grow.
Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the gym together. Right. But if it's somebody that's like, hey, I want to go to the gym, and the other person's like, I want to go to the all-you-can-eat buffet, like at some point, like that doesn't match up.
Right.
And so you got to get around the right people in your life. Have you ever run into that? Have you ever experienced like relationships that you, looking back on it, you're like, they were keeping me back?
Yeah. So I have a certain, not going to name names. There's a certain relationship that pops into mind, and these are some really close friends of me and Brent. So me and my husband, really close friends of ours for years, and it's been probably 7 or 8 years since we've even spoken. And so like when we were first married, we were together all the time, multiple times a week, every weekend, like doing everything that we could possibly do together. And then there just came a point where our priorities did not align anymore. So we weren't in the same place. Our goals weren't the same. Our focuses weren't the same. And so we realized like, okay, it's time to find a new relationship. And it's hard. It's painful, especially when you have a friendship or a relationship that you've invested so much time and emotional energy into, and to have to come to that place of realization of, this is not healthy for me. This is not serving me. This is not allowing me to grow and to be all that I'm called to be. We have to make those tough decisions and cut things off sometimes. So I've done that. I felt that. I feel that right now talking about it, that sadness of missing that relationship, but knowing that it's okay. Like it was for the best that we've gone our separate ways. Yeah. So. And
I think as believers, we're going to probably experience that more than an unbeliever would.
Yeah.
Just because in our walk with God, because I've experienced that where I had Christian friends that were like, my relationship with God, it's okay where it is. Like I don't want any more. And I'm like, I want more.
Right.
Like I want more than just attending church on the random Sundays when I feel like it. I want more than just, reading a super, I don't know, encouraging verse.
The verse of the day.
Yeah. Like it's just, this is the thing that's going to make you feel good, but you didn't really read the context. You didn't really read the chapter. You didn't read the book. You can't quote it. You don't know where it's from. It made me feel good in the moment. Like that level of Christianity, I'm sorry, it's not enough for me. Like I want more. And I think that a lot of us are in that same place where we want more. And because we want more, you're going to end up around the kind of people that also want more.
Yeah.
You gotta do that intentionally.
For sure. You get around the people who are going to help push you, and then there comes a time when you get to help push them. And so when you get with like-minded people, not everybody's always 100% all the time, but together you get to be 100% for each other and help fill in those gaps when somebody else needs that push.
Yeah.
So where do you find those people? So Brent, if I'm stuck, I got
where do you get the right
no
people?
idea. Where do you get the right people?
Man, so depends on where you are. So if you're a CLCer, which I imagine a lot of the people watching this podcast are a part of our church, but at any church you're at, I think is going to have systems for this. So the systems for us are twofold. One is life groups and one is dream teams. So dream teams, it's what we call, what thousands of churches across the country call our volunteer teams, the dream team. And so when you're serving with somebody on a team, first of all, you probably chose that team to serve in because you have an interest in it.
Right.
They probably chose that team because they have an interest in it, which means ta-da, you're now with a group of people that have a shared interest. Right?
Yep.
Like it's why like children's ministry people become like good friends, and youth ministry people become good friends, and worship ministry people become good friends, because it's like, hey, we have a passion for something, and now we're using it together.
Yeah.
Like it's easy for like the production team to hang out after work, because like, hey, we like tech, we like production, we like creativity, we like all this stuff, and so we're gonna go to the movies because we're gonna experience that out there. And so serving on a team with people really is a great starting point, because you're already matching shared interest. And especially because you're in a church setting, so now you're aligned in your relationship with God. You're trying to serve, which means you're trying to grow in your relationship with God. You're taking that next intentional step. So now you're matching that with the person, and then it's a shared interest. Like it's almost like a no-brainer at that point. And then the other system that we have is our small group system, which we call life groups. And like for me personally, I love my life group. You come to it every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
You do live like an hour and a half away, so I understand you're not there all the time. But what I love about our group is that we call it family night. It's completely social. There's every once in a while we'll try and like add some spiritual component to it.
Asa makes us pray.
Yeah, Asa makes us pray. They'll complain that like, hey, all we did was eat food and play games. Like, hey, can we work on our marriages or something? So we'll add some component to it. And what's super humbling for me is I think in a lot of situations people will be like, well, the pastor should be the most spiritual person in the group. But I'm encouraged and I'm challenged by the people that I'm in the group with. You talked a second ago about sometimes you're the one needing to be encouraged, or you're the one needing to get unstuck, and sometimes you're the person that's helping someone else do that. And I've seen, I think that my wife and I, we have a great marriage and we've got great kids, but then we'll be sitting in a room and somebody will be talking about something they did with their kids that was so intentional and so purposeful, and I'm just like, man, I never even thought about doing that. Like we gotta start doing that like today. And so I love just the community aspect of that just because one person's the pastor and somebody else isn't doesn't mean anything. Like it's just all of us are on this path together. We're all trying to get closer to God. And if you get, what's the old term is we're all just beggars in search of bread. Yeah. And like if you found some bread, share it with the group. Like all of us need that encouragement.
There is a quote, and I cannot remember. I want to say it's a John Maxwell quote. He talks about vulnerability. People connect with you through your weaknesses. There's something about strengths, like you grow through your strengths, but people will really connect with you.
Yes, that is a Maxwell.
It's a Maxwell quote. What's the quote?
I don't remember.
I told you I was going to forget the quotes today, but it's so true, because we can have all the knowledge in the world. Okay, we have Google, we have Chat GPT nowadays. Like you can go and find out literally anything you want to find out. Yeah. So knowledge is there, but you can spit knowledge as much as you want, but people do not trust you. People don't necessarily take it to heart until they can see that you're a real person and that you're vulnerable. Yeah. And so I love that aspect of talking about small groups for growth, because at least in our small group, and I know most of the small groups here at CLC, I'm going to guarantee you have that aspect of vulnerability where you can be real and you can be open with people, and you get to see pastors and leaders and people who serve and people who attend. Yeah. Everybody's on the same level playing field, and we all have struggles. We all have areas that we need to grow in, but being honest about those things and open about those things, that lets somebody else know that they're safe to also be honest and open and vulnerable about their issues. And once you bring light to that, you can grow. So you're never going to grow in an area until you recognize that it's an area you need to grow in, right?
Yep, 100%. You can't fix a problem if you don't know it's a problem. Yeah. So just real quick, for anybody that's not necessarily a part of our church, CLC, get connected to a local church that offers those two things, community in a small group system of some kind. And every church approaches that slightly different. I don't think the way you do it matters. Mm-hmm. I think just the fact that you're doing it matters. Yeah. So find a church where you can get into a small group, and find a church where you can serve. Because I think that when you're doing those two things, it puts you into community spaces. And not every community is going to be the right community. Not every team that you serve on is going to be the right team. I tell people around here that our dream teams are like shoes. Try a pair on. If you like them, awesome. If you put them on, you walk a few feet and you're like, ooh, these hurt, or I don't like these, or this isn't the right fit for me. That's no problem. Try a different pair of shoes. We just don't want anybody walking around barefoot. Yep. And so find a church where you can get connected, a part of a community. I think the biggest danger in feeling stuck is this kind of push to isolation, that we get stuck and we almost withdraw within ourselves.
Yeah.
And part of that is frustration. Part of that is fear. Part of that is worry of what is somebody going to say. Everybody is celebrating all of other people's successes. I don't have any of those. Everybody's going to be judging me. And so we withdraw in those moments. And that is the killer.
Yeah.
That's the thing that takes you out of the game, that wrecks it. And, you can be stuck in a lot of areas of your life. Just don't be stuck alone.
Yeah.
Like, find people that'll help you get through it.
Yeah. And I can honestly say that I'm guilty of that. I think it's such a natural thing to want to do. Is you're going through something and you're dealing with something and you want to withdraw, and it's not the right thing. I mean, out in the wild, you have animals, and what do the lions try to do? They try to get you alone. It's the lions, right? They get you alone because once you're alone, you're easy prey. And so having that community around you is great. And you mentioned serving on a dream team, and as I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but as an adult, it can be really hard to find new friends sometimes. I mean, we're not in school anymore. We're not, constantly around other people.
Look, I'm an adult and I'm an introvert. Like, come on now.
So it is hard. It is hard to find good people to have as friends. And so I loved how you mentioned you're going to have a common interest. You're serving on a dream team. You probably have at least one common interest on that team, but there's probably going to be a ton more interests that you share. So it's a great incubator for relationships. It's a great incubator to be able to connect with other people. So love that. Get in community. Serve on a dream team. Get in a life group. You need to be surrounded. Don't do life alone.
That's it.
Don't do life alone.
Pretty simple, right? All right, so we're going to God first. We're working out this plan in our lives. We're getting the resources that we need. We're getting around the right people. Where do you go from there? If you're still stuck at that point,
you don't give up.
Hey, I love it.
You don't give up.
Yeah, there's a Bible verse for that. Do you know what it is?
Don't give up. My references today are awful.
It's in Galatians. I don't even remember the
and it's in Galatians. I memorized Galatians.
I used it yesterday. So Galatians talks about don't grow weary in doing good.
That's true.
For at just the right moment, you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
There's a lesson here.
Keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Keep working through it. I know it sucks. We recognize it sucks because we've both been stuck.
Yeah.
There's an area of my life right now that I feel stuck in, and I'm working through it. And I have to even encourage myself that, Brent, you're not really all that stuck. And this is something I love for us to talk about this a little bit. So I've identified three, I don't know if I call them areas or reasons or kind of three whys I feel stuck or I get stuck. And I would love to get your kind of take on this, and then maybe you've got like a 4 and a 5 or a 7 to add to it, or maybe you're just like, yeah, no, those are the 3. That's the same thing for me.
Got it.
So number one reason why I feel stuck or I get stuck is I don't even know how to phrase this because it's kind of an oxymoron. I'm not. And so let me unpack that a little bit because I see your eyes looking at me like, what the heck is he talking about?
No, I think I know where
you're
you're
going.
going.
Okay.
I think I know where you're going.
So a lot of times I look at a situation and I'm like, I'm stuck. But in reality, I'm not. What's happened is I'm focused on the wrong thing. And for me, it's a comparison issue. And so I think I'm stuck because the progress I see in my life doesn't match the progress I see in other people's lives.
Yeah.
And so I man, it's the most dangerous. I think I tweeted this out. I'm not even on Twitter. I don't know what I'm saying here.
Status updated.
I posted on the gram. Super trendy, guys.
Follow at Brent McQuay.
Is that? I don't even know if that's my thing.
So.
Anyways, my thing. I don't even know these terminology.
Handle.
If you ever thought that your pastor was a cool guy, he's not. Anyways, I posted this on some social media platform on Easter, a warning to other pastors, simply because I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those where it was like I was praying and I was reminding myself and I was like, let me remind somebody else that maybe need to hear this. But comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And there's so many times, especially as a pastor, as a preacher, but I see this in everybody's life where we compare what we have or what we're going through to what somebody else has and what somebody else is going through.
Yeah.
And so like I can look at our Easter services and be like, man, we're beyond capacity for 2 of our 3 services. Yeah, but that 3rd service was like half full. And then I get a text message from a friend that's like, man, we had like 30,000 people. And I'm like, man, I would have been happy with 3,000. And then I got friends that are like, I would have been happy with 300. I got friends that would have been happy with 30.
Yeah.
But if all of us are comparing ourselves to each other or to others, it's like, okay, so all of us are stuck except for the one guy that had 300,000 people. You know, that's horrible. And I end up, I can't even say we, because I don't know if this is anybody but me, but I end up getting to a place where like I'm so stuck in this area of my life because I'm not where somebody else is.
Right. And we mentioned this, we were chatting a little bit before we started recording today, but you cannot compare your tomorrow to somebody's yesterday. And I absolutely love that, because you don't know how much, you don't know what went into them getting to where they are today. Your today and their today don't necessarily match up on the timeline. So it's, you can't compare their 10 or 15 or 20 years of preparation with your 5 or 10 years of preparation. You don't know what went into where they are right now. Just because you're in the same time doesn't mean that you're in the same timeline of where you're lining up at.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes there's a struggle, or there's a test, or there's even favor that's on somebody's life that we don't recognize, that we don't know. And so we're just comparing the highlight reel. And it's like, man, that person may even be jealous of the relationship you have with your wife, because you guys are so healthy and so good, and all you're seeing is the Instagram reel or whatever. And it's just like, man, comparison really is a trap. And it robs us of so much. And so often you're not even stuck. You think you are. Right now, you may be listening to this podcast, you're like, I'm stuck in this area of your life, of my life. You're not. You're not. Like,
stop comparing.
Just stop comparing.
Stop comparing.
Like, your progress is happening. Understand that, and it's okay. And so that's one area where I feel like I get stuck. Second area is I get stuck when I'm not doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't know if that ever happens to you, but it's like
I'm obedient all the time, 100% every day.
It's like, man, I'm stuck in my relationship with God. It's like, well, I also haven't been reading my Bible. I also haven't been doing worship outside of like Sundays, or I haven't been praying every day. And it's just like, okay, I'm stuck, but I'm stuck because I know I haven't been doing what I know I'm supposed to do. Like, I remember my wife and I, we got stuck in our finances for a while, and it was just like debt just kept growing, and it was all this stuff. And it was like, I kept talking to my wife, and I'm like, man, I know we need to get a budget. Like, I know we need to, but that just seems so scary. And like putting it all on paper, like knowing how poor we are, like, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to do that. So
avoiding the reality instead of facing the reality.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And so it's like, we were having all these conversations about how our finances were a mess, and how our debt just kept growing. But we weren't doing the thing that we knew we needed to do. And it was like, look, I know the solution to this problem. I'm refusing to do it. And that's why I feel stuck. And I think that affects people outside of just finances or relationship with God or whatever. But it's like every area of our lives. Like, you know the stuff that you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, yeah. And it's so much easier to avoid it. It's so much easier to just turn your blind eye and be like, okay, la, 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 la. It's not there. It doesn't exist. But it does. And it's going to affect you whether or not you want to recognize it.
Yeah. And so I got one more area, my third area where I recognize I get stuck. And that is when I hit a wall. And so this is going to go back to my high school days.
Okay. We're going way back.
We're going way back. This is like, I don't know, a lot of years ago.
I didn't call my boss old just now.
It was many years ago. I was in high school. I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I was a football player. Pretty much lived in the gym. That was my obsession. That was my passion, was football. And so one of our coaches for the team I played for would fill out our workout sheets for us.
Okay.
And the idea was every exercise that we do, there was 3 sets that we would do. And first set was like almost like a warm up. Second set was basically your max, but that you could honestly complete every time you were in the gym. The third one was literally on the paper for you to fail. Like, it was just, you're gonna try this, you're not gonna be able to do it. And so he would give us that sheet, and we would fill it out, we would do the exercises, and we'd turn it back into them. And so if you got to the point where your third set was you actually succeeded in it, the next time you came in, your third set was now your second set. And your second set was now your first set, and then he would add a new goal that you were not going to be able to succeed in, and you would try, and over time you'd finally do it. Well, I remember one time I don't remember. It was my squat. I don't remember the number, but it was like I was stuck on this number for like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting embarrassed. Like everybody else is seeing progress. Like at one point, like coach pulled me aside. He's like, "Dude, are you skipping workouts?" Like, it was like I'm like, I hit a wall. Like I don't know what happened. And so he took me aside and he explained. He's like, "Hey, that's normal. That's natural. Everybody hits a wall." And we kind of already talked about it. You keep doing what you know you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You keep working at it. And it was crazy. Like for like 2 months, numbers weren't changing. And then all of a sudden one day, like I didn't just get past that wall. I shattered that wall. And it was like that thing that was unobtainable for me. Yeah. Like within the course of a couple of weeks, that number wasn't even on the paper anymore. It wasn't even the warm-up set. Like I didn't just creep past it. I blew past it. And it was like, man, there was just this wall that I kept running into. And then all of a sudden one day, I didn't do anything different. Nothing changed. It was just the consistency of doing what I knew I was supposed to do. Eventually that wall shattered, only for me to run into a new wall.
Okay.
And I think that's life.
Yeah.
Like life is going to be a series of you get stuck.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's not because you've been doing something wrong. It's not because, God's mad at you or something. It's part of life. And this is your growth opportunity.
Yeah.
And you may hit that wall for a week, a month, a year, 10 years. I don't know. I don't know the timetable. But you hit that wall, but you continue to do what you know you're supposed to do. You're consistent with it. And eventually you're going to see you shatter through that wall.
Yeah.
Get encouraged, get excited. Then when you hit the next wall, understand this is just a wall.
Yeah. And you mentioned, so being stuck for so long and then you finally got your breakthrough. What did that do for you? Like, how did that feel? What did that do for your emotional state?
My ego was like I couldn't fit my head through the door. It was just like, cause it felt so good. Cause literally, so I don't remember the exact numbers, but literally my squat went up 100 pounds in like a week or
that
2
sounds
weeks.
intense.
Like it was just, and it was like all of a sudden it was like, I know I could not do this number a month ago. And now it's just like, so, I mean, I was cocky and I was excited and it gave me confidence in other areas of my life. And it was beautiful. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And it reminds me, like, so that was a big win for you, but it just brings to mind the thought of remembering the little victories and celebrating even the little wins. Because even when you mentioned earlier, if you're trying to walk a mile and you've only gone 10 feet, are you stuck? Does that count as being stuck? And my answer is no. You're not stuck because you're not in that same place. And so realizing that the 10 feet is still a victory. It's still a little win. It is still progress towards your goal. So it's recognizing those wins in the moment, but also remembering. And your family has a really cool tradition about remembering. And I don't think we've mentioned it on the podcast, but...
No, so we take it straight from Scripture. If you thought I did anything that was not from the Bible, like that's just... my only answer to life is just if it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
And so in the Bible, Israel is actually instructed to keep memorial stones. And so there's one stone from each of the tribes, and it's from I think it's the Jordan River. I could be getting the rivers mixed up, but it's they crossed on dry ground. Before they left, God told them, pick up one of those stones and create this memorial of these stones from the dry riverbed that shouldn't have been a dry riverbed. And so it's just this idea of, and the scripture even says, like, when your children ask you, why do we have this pile of rocks? This is what you're supposed to tell them. And so my wife and I, we took that into practice like 10 years ago. So we actually have a jar in our house. We call it our Memorial Stones jar. And we update it on the regular. I don't know. I'm not sure what's the latest thing that was added to it. It was probably something medical. I think there's like a emergency room wristband that's in there right now, amongst all the other stuff. But like my wife's citizenship documentation is in there because that was a long journey that we're praying, and we saw miracle after miracle happen with it. Each of my children's, like the little tag from when they're born, is in there. We've got some stuff from Bennett's emergency room visit. From my son fell out of the second story window of our house, landed on a cement slab.
That's such a crazy story.
And rushed him to the emergency room just for the doctors to look at us like we were crazy. Yeah. Like they're like, he fell into a bush, and we're like, there are no bushes, it's cement. And they're like, and he landed on his feet, on his head, and he had like this tiny little scratch on the back of his ear. That proved that he had actually fallen.
So wild.
But like he was completely fine. Well, I mean, he's kind of a weird kid, but he's supposedly perfectly fine from the fall.
He's brilliant.
But there's like Key from our first home is in there. There was a total miracle from God. Like there's all these little moments from our lives where it's like, okay, God did something. God showed up. We got this victory. We got this answer to prayer.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to forget it.
Yeah.
So we put it in this jar, and every once in a while, somebody will come over to the house and be like, that's a really weird, because the jar keeps getting bigger because we keep adding new things to it. And it's like, man, what is that? And we can actually just pull it out and pull out random items and be like, this is God's journey in our life.
I love that. And I think that's so important. So whether you're going to do it on a big scale or a little scale of, doing an entire memorial jar or just journaling or a simple prayer, I think that recognizing those moments of wins and victories and miracles occurring is going to be so key when you are feeling stuck, is remembering those little things, remembering the little victories.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the moral of the story, we'll wrap up with this, is you're not as stuck as you think you are, because there's always hope.
Yeah.
Like you're not stuck alone.
Where there's life, there's hope.
Yeah. And so, there's progress to be made.
Yep.
And will it look the way you want it to look? Maybe not. We're not guaranteed that, everything's going to end in a W.
Right. So being a Christian doesn't mean my life's going to be perfect.
No. What we're guaranteed is that when everything ends, it's going to be a W. Like, and that's the difference. Like, people are looking for these little moments where it's like, well, God did this thing and God did this thing. No, Jesus died on the cross for you. Like, when this life is over, you got a better one waiting.
Yes, that is our hope.
That's what we have. We have eternity with God, where there's no more tears, there's no more sickness, there's no more disease, there's complete healing. It's relationship with God. It's perfection. It's the new heaven, new earth. Like, that's our hope. That's what we're working towards. And so in this life, even in the momentary setbacks, even in the momentary things, I mean, what's 60 years? What's 80 years compared to eternity?
Yes.
Like, eternity is a very big number.
Yep.
Like, I don't know where it ends. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Right? Like, that's the whole point.
Spoiler.
But so I just want to encourage you that you're not as stuck as you think you are. Right? You may feel stuck because you're comparing to the wrong things. You may feel stuck because, let's face it, you just haven't been doing what you're supposed to be doing. And you may feel stuck just because you've hit a wall in your life, and that's a normal process in life. And keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you'll break through it. Like, you're stuck, but I mean, it's stuck like, well, I forgot to put the car in drive. Like, the car's parked. Okay, yeah, well, put it in drive and you'll be fine.
Yep.
Like, just do what you're supposed to do. You'll get unstuck. Any closing thoughts or smart remarks?
I always have a smart remark ready to go. No, I would say if you're in that spot, if you're feeling stuck, just remember you're not as stuck as you think you are. Remember those little victories. Shift your perspective and just see what God would have you to see in that moment and keep doing the right thing. Yeah. So no, nothing to add. No smart remarks here.
Trust in the goodness of God.
Trust in the goodness of God. He is our hope. Yeah. He's what we got.
Beautiful. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Joni,
for
hanging
welcome.
out with me.
Thank you for having me today.
Beautiful episode of how to get unstuck in life.
Love it.
All right. We'll hope to see you on the next episode of Between Sermons. Take it easy.